and welcome to SC Global News. From the heartfelt reflections on Carlo Acutis' life shared by his mother to the remarkable milestone of the Jesus Film project reaching 2,200 translations of the Jesus Film, we have many stories to cover. As the canonization of Blessed Carlo Acutis approaches, his mother has shared reflections on the ordinary yet holy life of her son. The 15-year-old who will become the first millennial saint will be canonized during the Jubilee of Teenagers on April 27th. Given his growing popularity among young adults, the event is expected to draw a large crowd.
Blessed Carlo Acutis, a 15-year-old Italian boy who compiled all known Eucharistic miracles into a website, even amidst a terminal cancer diagnosis, will be declared a saint during the Jubilee of Teenagers. He will be the first canonized saint of the millennial generation. In an interview with Reuters, Antonia Solzano, mother of Blessed Carlo Acutis, said that sainthood is a calling for everyone. She recounted that her son was an ordinary child like any other.
Definitely, Carlo was an ordinary child like everybody. I used to play, to have friends, to go to school. But his extraordinary was the fact that he opened the door of his heart to Jesus and he put Jesus at the first place in his life.
Carlo Acutis was born on May 3, 1991 in London, but his family moved to Milan shortly after his birth. From a young age, he displayed remarkable devotion to the Holy Eucharist, referring to it as his highway to heaven. His love for the Eucharist led him to create a website cataloguing Eucharistic miracles from around the world, a site that remains active to this day. He was diagnosed with an aggressive form of leukemia at the age of 15. Carlo offered up his suffering for the Pope and the Church, saying, quote, "I'm happy to die because I've lived my life without wasting a minute on things that wouldn't please God," end quote. He died on October 12, 2006. His cause for canonization progressed swiftly due to his evident holiness and the miracles attributed to his intercession. In the interview, Antonia Solzano recounted the first such miracle.
The first miracle he did the day of the funeral because a woman with a breast cancer prayed Carlo and she had to start the chemotherapy and the cancer disappeared completely. So this was the first miracle, and since then we had so many miracles each day. And of course the Church chose one for the beatification, one for the canonization.
As the date of his canonization approaches, the world is abuzz with anticipation for a new saint, one who wore jeans, loved playing PlayStation, enjoyed cartoons, and still led a holy life in a modern world. He made holiness feel achievable for everyone. Bishop Domenico Sorrentino of Assisi shared his thoughts on the upcoming canonization of this young saint.
Sono andata alla sua tomba, in effetti è una figura che ti comunica pure adesso che non c'è più. Quindi secondo me è un bel esempio per i ragazzi, per una fede semplice, capito? Della vita quotidiana.
According to the Diocese of Assisi, Acutis' canonization Mass is expected to take place at 10:30 a.m. on Sunday, April 27th in St. Peter's Square.
Lords welcomed a record of 13,500 high school students on Sunday for FRAT 2025, a 4-day pilgrimage drawing youth from 8 dioceses across France. The biennial event opened with Palm Sunday Mass and featured powerful Marian torchlit procession through the sanctuary. With a 55% increase in participation since the last edition, FRAT 25 marks a significant revival of faith among French teenagers.
Lourdes saw an influx of high school students on Sunday as youth from 8 French dioceses flocked to the sanctuary for FRAT 2025, a 4-day pilgrimage held every 2 years. This year's FRAT saw a record turnout with 13,500 high school students registering for the event, a 55% increase in attendance in just 2 years, reflecting a resurgence of faith among teenagers. The 13,500 participants took part in the iconic Marian torchlight procession, which proceeded from the Basilica of St. Pius X to the Basilica of Our Lady of the Rosary. Since its inception in 1908, on the 50th anniversary of the apparitions of the Virgin Mary in Lourdes, a gathering of young adults has been a regular event at the sanctuary, only interrupted during the First and Second World Wars. Until 2025, the record for the highest attendance was held by Frat 2008, the Centenary Gathering. Frat 2025 began with the Palm Sunday Holy Mass at the underground Basilica of St. Pius X, presided over by Bishop Laurent Ulrich. The rest of the days will be interspersed with prayers, concerts and talks. The organizers expect Frat to be a time of celebration and joyful expression of faith. Speakers at the event include Nicolas Diop, who miraculously survived a 53-minute cardiac arrest, women's rights activists Gina Diarra and Alexandra Darbas, and young seminarians Timothée Crew and Arnaud de Goubeville. 16 trains were chartered, 89 coaches mobilized, and 350 volunteers are working around the clock to make the event as seamless and well organized as possible. Centered around the theme In the Hollow of the Rock, echoing Moses' encounter with God, Frat 2025 offers French high schoolers an opportunity for a deep, personal encounter with God.
A heartbreaking tragedy from Nigeria, where more than 40 lives have been lost in a sudden and brutal attack on a Christian farming village in Plateau State. Under the cover of a night where silence should have meant peace, it was pierced by gunfire. Among the dead are children, mothers and elders, people who had no warning and no chance to flee. The country's president has condemned the violence and ordered an urgent investigation. As communities gather in grief and prayer, the nation is left asking, how could such evil go unchecked and what must be done to stop it?
In a brutal and heartbreaking attack, Muslim gunmen stormed the village of Surak in Plateau State, West District in Nigeria, leaving at least 40 people dead, numerous others wounded, and entire families displaced. The massacre, which unfolded late Monday, is one of the deadliest in recent memory and adds to the growing insecurity in Nigeria's middle belt. According to police reports and eyewitnesses, the assailants arrived on motorcycles, opened fire on residents, burned homes, and kidnapped villagers, setting home ablaze and looting properties. According to initial reports, women, children, and the elderly were the victims of the ruthless attack. Local sources believe the death toll could rise as several others remain unaccounted for. Andy Yakubu, a resident of the village who narrowly escaped the attack, said they came around midnight, shooting into houses. People were trying to run, but many were caught. I saw bodies, some burned, some shot. We are still looking for some of our people. While authorities confirmed that 7 attackers were killed in a clash with security forces, the trauma and the devastation inflicted upon the Christian majority community of Surak is immense. President Bola Tinubu, in a statement released Monday morning, expressed profound sorrow over the attack. He ordered an immediate investigation and directed security agencies to apprehend those responsible. No Nigerian deserve to live in fear or to be attacked in their own homeland, the president said. The attack is not just a national tragedy, it is a spiritual one. Many of the victims were believers and their deaths echo the cries of the persecuted church. Christian communities in Plateau and other regions have long faced violence from armed groups, often amid ongoing land and ethnic conflicts. Plateau State has been one of the Nigeria's most volatile regions in recent years, plagued by clashes often rooted in long-standing disputes between nomadic herders and settled farming communities. International human rights group Amnesty International condemned the attack, stating that many of the victims were taken by surprise and had no chance to flee, while warning that such violence is becoming all too common in the region. They noted that more than 120 people have been killed in Plateau State alone since December 2024, raising concerns about the effectiveness of government's effort to restore peace. The Nigerian government is pledged to reinforce security in Plateau State and to work with community leaders to address the deeper issues fueling the conflict. International Desk, Shekinah News.
The Southeast Asian archipelagic nation of Philippines will be consecrated to the Divine Mercy on April 27th, Divine Mercy Sunday. The decision was announced by Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines with its president, Cardinal Pablo Virgilio David, urging all dioceses, parishes, religious communities, and Catholic institutions to take part in the spiritual initiative.
Filipino Catholic bishops will consecrate the Philippines to the Divine Mercy on April 27th as part of the Church's observance of the Jubilee year 2025. The consecration will take place amid the celebration of the Holy Mass in all churches across the country on Divine Mercy Sunday, the Sunday after Easter. The president of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines, Cardinal Pablo Virgilio David, made the announcement in a letter dated April 11th. Cardinal David stated that the consecration was a collective response of faith and hope in the face of grave challenges facing the country and the global community. The Cardinal wrote, quote, "This nationwide consecration will be a profound expression of our trust in the divine mercy, a trust that remains our final refuge in these times of uncertainty and trial." End quote. All dioceses, parishes, religious communities, and Catholic institutions have been advised to participate in the spiritual initiative. Divine Mercy Sunday was established by Saint Pope John Paul II in 2000 during the canonization of Saint Faustina Kowalska, calling her the great apostle of divine mercy in our time.
U.S. Senator Eric Schmidt has introduced a new bill proposing to designate Easter Monday as a federal holiday. In a social media post, Schmidt highlighted that 81% of Americans celebrate Easter and argued that marking Easter Monday a federal holiday would provide families with more time and to celebrate the occasion together. United States Senator from Missouri, Eric Schmidt, has introduced a new bill, the Easter Monday Act of 2025, that would designate Easter Monday as a federal holiday. In a post on the social media platform X, Schmidt explained why Easter should receive federal recognition. According to his post, 81% of Americans celebrate Easter, yet the current holiday schedule makes it difficult for families to come together, as Easter often falls within the longest unbroken work stretch on the calendar. The bill, introduced by Senator Schmidt on April 10th, is currently in its initial stages of the legislative process. Its stated intent is to establish Easter Monday as a legal public holiday. Schmidt emphasized that federal Easter Monday holiday would give Americans an opportunity to celebrate Easter, the holiest day in Christianity, with their families, calling the move pro-worker, pro-family, and pro-faith. He also argued that the proposal is not radical, noting that Easter weekend already generates around $50 billion for the US economy. Turning it into a 3-day weekend could boost that figure by an estimate of 10 to 15%, potentially adding up to $2 billion in additional economic activity while also strengthening family bonds. Schmidt further commented that holidays and traditions reflect the story a nation tells about itself. He stated that the proposal is not political. It is neither Republican nor Democrat holiday, but rather an American tradition intended to enable a fuller celebration of a defining moment in the faith that has significantly shaped the nation's history and cultural foundation. Antonio Gaudí, known as God's architect, the visionary behind Barcelona's world-famous Sagrada Familia, is one step closer towards sainthood. Known for his deeply spiritual designs and devotion to his Catholic faith, Gaudí has now been declared venerable by Pope Francis. His mission was to create a hymn of praise to the Lord through art and architecture, and to make God known and bring people closer to Him. Antonio Gaudí, the renowned designer of Barcelona's iconic Sagrada Familia Basilica, is now closer to sainthood. Pope Francis has recognized the heroic virtues of the Spanish architect and servant of God Antonio Gaudí and declared him venerable. According to the Vatican, on April 14, the Pope authorized the dicastery for the causes of saints to promulgate the decree during the audience granted to Cardinal Marcelo Semeraro. Servant of God Antonio Gaudí was born in 1852 in Reus, Spain. He accepted the task of directing the project of the Basilica of Sagrada Familia in 1883. Gaudí's mission was to create a hymn to praise the Lord through art and architecture, and to make God known and bring people closer to Him. He was rightly known as God's architect. He passed away in 1926 after being struck by a tram. Over 30,000 people attended the funeral, and his body was buried in the Basilica's crypt. Pope Benedict XVI consecrated the building in 2010, praising his genius in transforming the church into a praise to God made of stone. Although unfinished, the basilica attracts millions of visitors every year. Most of the church's structure and steeples are expected to be completed by 2026. The Jesus Film Project, a ministry of crew headquartered in Orlando, Florida, has achieved a major milestone with the 2200th language translation of the Jesus film. Officially recognized as the most translated film in the world, the Jesus film exceeded 817 language versions as of July 2012, with the latest version in the dialect of Kualingo language spoken in Ivory Coast. The Jesus Film Project has reached a historic milestone with the 2200th language translation of the Jesus Film. The latest version is in a dialect of Kualungo language spoken in Ivory Coast, West Africa. Officially recognized by Guinness World Records as the most translated film in history, the Jesus Film surpassed 817 translations back in July 2012. Originally released in 1979, the film began global distribution in 1981 through Jesus Film Project, a ministry of crew. Reaching the first 1,000 language translations took the ministry 32 years. Remarkably, the next 1,000 were completed in just over a decade, which shows a testament to the growing momentum and commitment to making the gospel accessible to every people. In a press release by Jesus Film Project, Josh Newell, executive director, states that, quote, "The story of Jesus has never been more relevant or accessible than it is right now, and it's about to reach every last corner on earth," end quote. For the Newell family, the latest milestone carries personal significance. Nearly 25 years ago, Josh and his wife Holly traveled to nearby Burkina Faso. On the final day of the trip, a local Bible translator guided them to the outskirts of the town. From a dusty hill, she pointed towards a distant land beyond the border. She told them, quote, "I cannot cross the border and go to these villages or learn their language. Will you pray with me that one day God will reach those villages?" End quote. Josh and Holly joined her in prayer, never imagining the role they would play in what has to come. Today, the land beyond is home to a 300,000 Kulango people. With the translation of the Jesus Film into their native language, church leaders are now equipped with a powerful tool to bring gospel to those people who were once unreachable communities. The Kulango version of the film was made possible through the dedication of volunteers. One led the translation effort, championing the script and coaching voice actors to ensure both accuracy and authentic delivery. Another volunteer who also served as a voice actor now currently works in a branch of government and was deeply honored to lend his voice to a project created for his people in a language that is closest to his heart. That's all for today. Until we meet again, God bless and thank you.